Now, I want to take just a few seconds to talk about why drone businesses fail. And I don't like to spend a lot of time on the negative, but I'm realistic. And I want to give you guys some cautionary signs. So if you find yourself doing this stuff, don't do it. A lot of people, they, as Diego mentioned, they focus on the flying. They think, oh, I've got to be the greatest pilot in the world. You don't. Let the computer do all the work. These things are incredible. Just let the technology do the work. And the same thing goes for all the other, how do I do this? How do I do all those answers? They'll come tomorrow, you know, on the editing and the video editing, capturing, delivering, all that stuff. There's technology to really help us with that. You know, and the other thing is people wait way too long before they seek expert help. They try and do everything themselves and they literally burn themselves out. You know, you try and you do it, you get a client, you get a win, and then all of a sudden that client goes away or stops or is doing something different, and you don't know how you got that. You can't replicate it. And then you just sit back and you're kind of waiting for stuff to come to you. You can't do that. Everything in life is either growing or it's dying. So you got to push yourself. You got to put yourself out there. And then we've talked about this over and over again. People don't know how to market properly. Now you guys do. And you don't need to overthink it or overcomplicate it. You know, it is, if you follow the system, it is literally that simple. And then we've talked about this, but people just are clueless about the lifetime value of a drone customer. And I think regardless of what vertical market you're in, you need to be aware of that and kind of track that. And like right now for real estate, it's $22,000 for every realtor you have. It's pretty good. You know, and I talk to people about doing these free photo shoots and they're like, well, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I got to drive out there, that's gas, and then I've got to pay for the editor, and that costs some money, and you know, and they won't do it. They're like, I won't do it for free. It's like you won't spend $16 or $18 with a photo editor so you can get a $22,000 client. Well, if you put it that way, you know, but that's not, I don't get the $22,000 right now. Who cares? You start getting it pretty darn quick. So why not get a whole bunch of those? Why don't you get 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 300 of those? Something to think about. And like Diego mentioned, a lot of these people or companies, they'll be like, you know, oh, well, I don't mind, you know, if I'm spending, I can send a marketing campaign and spend $500, or I can spend money on SEO or some Facebook ads or Google ads and spend a couple $1,000s, and it could yield 0 results. But that's just marketing. But I won't spend $18 to get a $22,000 client. Makes no sense. Again, if you find yourself thinking that, slap yourself in the face and grab your face and say, okay, what are the opportunities? What are the solutions? Okay, I'm going to go do that. I was making an excuse because I'm scared, and I'm just going to go do it. I'm going to take massive imperfect action. Okay. And then the other thing I see so many people do is undercharge and overpromise their services. And I get it. It's going to be hard for some of you guys to charge somebody $5,000 or $7,000 for 45 minutes of your time. Maybe you haven't ever charged anyone like that. And you're going to be like, why would they pay me that? Well, it's worth it to them. And so you need to think about, remember, it's perceived value. What's the value for them? You know, I love it like, like if you're doing inspections, for example. Say you're doing a cell tower inspection. And we'll get into the pricing and talking about it more later, but let's say that somebody's paying, they're paying $2,400 to have a cell tower inspected. It takes you 7 minutes. Put the drone up and fly around. Well, what value are you giving them? You know, and could you charge them more than $2,400? Yeah, because think about it. They're paying $2,400 right now, and they're sending like a rope climbing crew up there. It's usually scheduled out. Most of those crews are running anywhere from 3 to 9 months behind. So they're not getting the information for a while. Number two, the information you're getting, you can get it to them much faster. The information you're going to get and the data you're going to get is going to be way better. And the best part about it is you're not risking any human lives. So nobody's going to get paralyzed or killed or dismembered or anything like that. And you can do it. And actually add more value because you can actually stack or layer these images over each other from quarter to quarter, from year to year, to month, and track stuff that they've never been able to track before. So wouldn't that be worth more to them? Yeah, at least worth the same, but yeah, probably a lot more. Especially if that company had had any kind of dismemberment or paralyzation or fatality related to that, then yeah, they'll pay a lot more for it. But you're like, but hey, Damon, it's 7 minutes of my time. You know, I'm not a 20, you know, if you break that out, let's just say 10 minutes, you know, that's almost what, $20,000 an hour. I'm not a $20,000 an hour guy. I'm more of a $15 or $20 an hour guy. So I'm just going to charge them, you know, 25 bucks for that, or 50 bucks, because that's where I am. But again, and we'll talk about pricing tomorrow in more detail, when you do that, now all of a sudden you've lowered your value to them. So you need to make sure that you don't undercharge. People do it all the time in this industry. The other thing they do is they way overpromise. They overpromise what can be delivered. Like they read all this stuff this software does, and you know, it can do all this amazing stuff, and they offer them the top tier of everything it can do. And then they find out, well, theoretically it should be able to do it, but we can't do it on this project, but this, blah, 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 blah. And so they promised them this, but they give them this. Well, now they're pissed because you lied to them. And I mean, what are you going to do? Say, well, it's not my fault, it's the software company because they said they could do it and they couldn't do it and I've never used it before, but blah, blah. They don't care. You told them you could do it, you lied to them. So don't do that. Don't lie. And don't overpromise. You know, we'll talk about it tomorrow again, but I talk about the ladder rung theory, where if you have, you know, a 20 rung ladder and you can offer all these different steps, which are way better than anything they have as far as deliverables go, why offer them the 20th one first? Offer them the bottom rung. That gives you a chance to make a sale. It's a low barrier of entry, and then you can build rapport, and the next time then you can sell them something else, and then sell them something else, and build up and add more and more and more. And you've under-promised and over-delivered everywhere along the way. Then by the time you get to 20, the 20th rung, if you want to offer that, say, hey, this is the, you know, I'm not 100% sure that this is going to work, but I think we can do this. You've built up rapport, you've got everything, you've managed expectations, and then you can sell them that. The other thing I see people do is way over-promising timelines. Like, we have in-house editors at Sky Network, or that we've contracted with, and typically, you guys get your pictures in to our editors that night, and they'll have them to you the next morning, typically. But what happens if something happened with your internet and it timed out and your upload didn't go through? Or what if their internet was down? Or what if they're just swamped and behind schedule and they couldn't get it to you till the next day? But you promised your customer, I'll have it for you first thing in the morning. And there's a problem. Or you screwed up and sent them the wrong file, the wrong house. And then the next day you send them the right house. Well, now all of a sudden you promise it first thing in the morning. So again, under promise and over deliver. Tell your clients they'll have the pictures in 48 to 72 hours. Because what happens if you tell them, I'll have it to you 48 or 72 hours, and you get it to them the next morning? Are they going to be pissed at you? No, they're going to be like, wow, this is great. But if you tell them you're going to have it to them first thing in the morning and you don't get it to them for 24 hours, or for 48 hours, you lied to them. It's a bad thing. So again, manage expectations and just don't do that. And then the other thing is safety limitations, because you're going to have clients that ask you to do all kinds of crazy stuff. They don't know what these things can do. They don't know your skill level or what you're comfortable doing. So it's going to be up to you to say no. If you're not comfortable doing something, you got to tell them, we can't do that. And they'll be like, well, what can you do? And you come up with a solution for something you can do. Because again, they don't know, but it's your business, it's your company, it's your reputation. So you need to make sure you take care of it. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure and click the button below to subscribe, and be sure and hit the thumbs up button. All right, for more free resources to help you build your drone business, visit thedroneboss.com in our resources section. To fast track your success, be sure to check out our 3-day live total immersion event at Drone Command Live. You can click somewhere around here or below in the description. All right, take care and fly safe.